Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Morning.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so hey, welcome back to the fall semester 2020. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Randall. I'm former president of the student chapter of ALPFA here at East Bay. And yeah, we're going to be talking to BDO today, and they're going to give us a rundown of what recruitment season looks like for finance and accounting students. So just a quick word here on, let me see. A quick word for you, for those of you who are not familiar with ALPFA. ALPFA stands for the Association of Latino Professionals for America. It's a 45-year-old nonprofit that has professional chapters in 44 major cities and over 150 universities nationwide. The total membership is well over 100,000 strong. So this club is beyond the scope of East Bay. We're one small part of a huge machine here. So what the national chapter does, it partners with companies like BDO to help find talent, Latino talent, leadership talent, to bring up the pipeline. So um, locally, we have two professional chapters, one in San Francisco, one in Silicon Valley. Jocelyn is our San Francisco president, and Daisy is for Silicon Valley. I know them both personally, very, very nice people. I hope you all get a chance to meet and network with them in the not too distant future when we can see each other face to face again. East Bay is one of 5 chapters in the Bay Area. Mostly state schools and UC Santa Cruz are active. So we'll have a chance to network with them at some point as well. Just to recap some of the stuff that we did during the spring that you may have missed out on, you can head over to our YouTube page where we have a panel discussion with a great organization that we partnered with called Wansulting. Some ALPFA alumni got together and they started crafting professional experience together to give students an idea of what they need to do to break into Fortune 500 companies and launch their career when they come from schools that are not targeted by those firms. It's a great organization. They did really, really impactful panel discussion. And if you're a member, I can send you a link to a LinkedIn networking tutorial that they did, which is really, really powerful. But you do have to be a member to get that. Just FYI, just a little incentive for you to sign up. um, the national organization orchestrates every semester a virtual student symposium. I participated in this back in May, and I have to tell you, I did not realize that a virtual career fair could be so efficient. I talked to a ton of companies and recruiters from all different industries, and they were able to give me a ton of insight. I found new target companies, different things, different avenues to launch my career that I hadn't otherwise considered. So if you're not part of the national chapter, or excuse me, part of the national body, you can head over to alpha.org and sign up. The student membership is free. There's a premium membership as well, but you can participate. These are resources available to you at absolutely no cost. Additionally, we had a virtual convention earlier this month. Again, virtual career fair was spectacular. I talked to a ton of recruiters. So they had workshops, they had professional development, they had a student boot camp. Again, this is all part of the national organization. So if you're a student chapter here, I want to keep you plugged into these resources because it's very, very powerful stuff that you can't just go online and find, right? So as for our local chapter, we're going to be getting together for chapter socials. Obviously, social distancing and wearing masks. We want to get together at the first week of every month. Moving forward, we're planning to do outdoor activities where social distancing can be more efficient. So hikes. We had a hike planned this upcoming week, but the fires are going to derail that. But we're planning to get together soon, so keep that on your calendar. The professional chapter in San Francisco is orchestrating a mentor-mentee matching. So if you're looking for a professional to mentor you in your career, this is the place to go. You can point your camera phone at the QR code there, or you can visit the URL there. And all you have to do is fill out a quick survey. It literally is like 5 questions long, and get your name into the system. And the San Francisco chapter will pair you with a mentor. Coming up in September, a little bit of a shameless plug. I have another organization here called Data Science Club. We're going to be partnering with ALPFA, and we're going to be talking to Ernst & Young about their careers in both financial services and data analytics. So more details on that coming soon. Comerica has a rotational recruitment program. Details for this is coming up too. You definitely want to keep an eye out for that. Kaiser is doing a resume building workshop in October as well. This is going to be October 16th. There's a date set for this one as well. So keep that on your calendar. And if you're looking for a leadership position, keep this in mind. I'm going to be graduating, so there's definitely going to be at least one board position open. So if you're interested in pursuing leadership and you want to build all the skills that we do here at Alpha, talk to one of our officers, myself, Jerry, Anthony, Julianne. Speaking of which, let me introduce you to our board for the fall. Anthony joined us over the summer. He's going to be director of events. I can say from firsthand experience, Anthony has done a great job so far. He's a very, very talented leader as a student. So we're very happy to have him. He's a business admin major with a concentration in finance. If you want to connect with him, LinkedIn URL is there. Julianne Marie Villarreal is our director of marketing. She manages our Instagram. She manages all of our social media. So make her job a little easier and join our social media pages so that you can stay connected with all of our events. Julie is a business admin major as well with a concentration in marketing. And yours truly, was the president for the spring 2020. I'm going to be handing the reins over to the next president here shortly. And I'm an econ major, a mathematics minor. Please follow my YouTube channel for Data Science Club as well. The URL's there, or the channel page is there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to add you. All right, so I want to introduce you to our upcoming president for fall 2020, Gerardo Barcenas Jr., who's a computer science major and is pursuing a minor in mathematics as well. So Jerry has a few words to welcome you to the fall 2020 semester. Let me hand it over to Jerry.
Welcome, everybody. I understand that this semester we've been through a lot of obstacles, especially considering what's happening outside. Like, not only is there smoke, there's the pandemic, and there's the lockdown happening. But despite all of those obstacles that we have to jump over, I really believe that Alpha is here to help despite the inconveniences. I honestly wouldn't become president if it wasn't for the fact that this organization has helped me a lot. Not only have I got an internship through this organization, but I really got to test my limits and see, because I've been mentored with not only by Randall as the previous president, but also the president before him, Isaiah. And honestly, I hold those two dear in my heart because they really taught me how to grow. And fortunately enough, I have 3 other leaders that I really can depend on. So honestly, this chapter can't be any more set up for success.
Awesome, thanks, Jerry. Again, you guys feel free to connect with him in order to stay in touch with everything that the chapter is doing. Please connect with us, and we'll make sure that you stay on the same page. All right, so without further ado, we have 2 speakers from BDO. We have Celise Koppel and Jenny R.K. Let me hand it over to them. They'll be talking about what to do during recruiting season, and they know firsthand because they both run the recruiting. From BDO. So without further ado, Celise, why don't you go ahead?
Good morning. How is everyone doing today?
Great.
Hopefully good. Thank you.
Amazing.
Good. I'm
Fantastic
glad to hear that. For those of you who didn't speak up, if you want to maybe share one word in the chat feature about how you're feeling, that'd be great. I know sometimes people are a little more quiet. Well, I'm Celeste Koppel. I'm your local campus recruiter here in the Bay Area. I sit in the San Jose office, and I have been with BDO now for 2 years. And prior to joining BDO, I was based out of Salt Lake City and worked in recruiting with one of the Big Four. And so I love being in my position now because I can speak to both sides of the coin in terms of a big, really big firm and a mid-sized, still a mid-sized but global firm like BDO is, and it's been a wonderful home for me, and I'm really happy to be with BDO and of course to be here with you guys today. Jenny, do you want to say hi?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Randall, Jerry, thank you guys for hosting us and for your kind words at the beginning. I will just, before I get started on myself, you guys are very impressive. I'm very impressed with you and your organization and what you're doing. So I'm Jenny Arake. I am the National Campus Recruiting Manager here at BDO. I oversee all of the specialized tax services, national tax operations, and sort of kind of advisory. We have our advisory recruiter, new advisory recruiter here with us today. She's on mute right now, but she's here, Emily Adamowski.
Hello.
She's our new advisory campus recruiter. I've been at BDO going on 4 years in January, and I have been in professional services recruiting since 2006. So yes, I'm old, but that hopefully translates to lots of experience to share with all of you about what to do and you know, how to get your job. And also wanted to share that I am Latina, so this obviously is very close to my heart because I'm very passionate about helping our diverse students get their dream job, you know, whether it's with us or somewhere else. I'm very passionate about helping others, and especially because if it weren't for people helping me when I was your age, I wouldn't be where I am. So I'm excited to speak with you all of you today, and happy to share what we know.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and we have a nice video that gives you just a quick summary of who we are, and is way more entertaining than listening to us talk about our firm. So I'm going to share this with you all and hope my internet is good. I previewed it earlier and it was struggling a bit. Can you see my screen? Just maybe a thumbs up. Okay, thanks, Jenny.
Can't hear audio.
Of course. Okay.
But that's okay. I think, yeah, even if we can't translate audio, you guys get the point. There's no words being spoken in the video. You guys can see.
Okay, great. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to kick it over to slideshow for you. So just a quick overview of what we'll be doing today. We just handled introductions. You saw our video. We're going to have Jenny talk to us a bit about what types of positions she has available. You know, what is STS? What is advisory? We're going to talk about some ways that you can present yourself really well in a resume. And then we're going to talk about virtual networking and interviewing. And of course, we're going to do a Q&A after, so we'd love your questions. We're here to be a resource for you. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jenny to talk to us.
Thanks. So I just dropped a note in the chat. I will start by saying I do not like doing these when it's just like me talking at a screen. I like to have a conversation with you guys and address the things that you want to know specifically, especially because it's a small group. I think we have the opportunity here to unmute ourselves and really have a good conversation. So if you don't mind, drop a note in the chat with what you want to know specifically about this fall recruiting season, virtual recruiting, whatever it is that you want to hear, so we make sure we touch on that. While you think about that, I will briefly touch on the specific business lines that I recruit for and how I work with Celise. So Celise obviously is over in the West, and she recruits for the Bay Area offices and I think a couple of other offices, Celise. And she focuses primarily on our core tax and our audit positions at the entry level. And where I come in is I focus on all of our specialty business lines. So that's all the specialty tax, national tax, and advisory. Within STS, a lot of students don't really know what STS is, so that's why we wanted to just share a little bit about that with you. And STS basically is specialized tax services. It's consultative in nature, so a lot of students say, oh, I'm interested in consulting, and people automatically assume advisory, but that's not the case. You can certainly be in STS if you're interested in consulting. So I will not read from the slide here. You guys can do that, and we can certainly share these slides with you after. But state and local tax, international tax, transfer pricing, research and development credit tax services, global employer services, tax performance engineering, fixed asset advisory services, and customs and international trade services. And even within those groups, you can see there's lots of other business lines within those groups that we hire for as well. So before I go on here into advisory, any questions on STS specifically, or maybe what we're looking for? Okay. All right, so we can advance to advisory. I see a lot of questions coming through. Thank you, Jeremy, for your question on advisory. Jose, Randall, thank you. And Emily, thanks for manning the chat there. So Celise, I think we can go ahead and advance to the advisory slide here. So advisory, I feel like this is what everybody gets like super excited about, right? It's like the fun, exciting thing on campus. Everybody wants to do advisory. And my question to you is like, do you know what advisory is? Do you know what you're getting yourself into? It's a really cool, fun world to be a part of. I see some smiles, Randall. I think probably your majors, you probably are interested in advisory specifically. Anybody else, give me a thumbs up on the screen if you're interested in advisory. Yeah, okay, probably you guys, cool. So advisory, similar to STS, has multiple business lines within advisory. Lots of different routes you can go. We start off by hiring straight accounting majors, just like tax and audit do, but we venture off into completely different worlds too, with data analytics. Emily can talk a little bit about BDO Digital if she'd like. We have forensics practices as well, transactional, healthcare, BSR, BSO, all sorts of different groups here that we have at BDO, which I think is really cool. One thing I'll note about BDO in general and our entry-level hiring is our mobility. So whether you come in from tax or audit or STS or advisory, if you're like, oh, I did that a couple of years, I want to try something else, we offer that, which is really cool. So for advisory specifically, I see some of the questions here. I'm going to go ahead and answer some of these right away. So do we have internships available in advisory? So Jeremy, yes, the answer is yes, we do have internships available. In the West region, it's mostly with risk advisory services. So I see you jotting notes. I'll go slow. Risk advisory services and valuations. So VBA is like what we say short, valuation and business analytics. So risk advisory services, valuation and business analytics, VBA falls under our corporate finance umbrella, and then risk advisory gets its own umbrella. So those two are the ones that are busiest in the West region. Now, if you're flexible in terms of where you want to go, and at BDO, we're certainly flexible. We're not the type of firm that says, oh, you know, we recruited you from California, you got to stay in California. Absolutely not. We recruit you wherever you want to go. You want to go to New York? Cool, we'll send you there. So that answers Jeremy's question here. Jeremy, anything else I can answer for you there?
None so far. I appreciate it though. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, you're welcome. Jose, any tips on how to pursue a career in advisory? This right here is a really good start. Participating in stuff like this is great. Following up with us after this so that we can get you connected to the right people. We love doing that. Part of what we do is kind of like matchmaking. You know, you tell me what you like, and then I kind of pair you up with the group that does that, and we see what we can do. So very simple, apply online, stay connected with us, build those relationships. And I mean, it's not really that hard. You go through our virtual recruiting process, and I mean, you can have an offer within a week if it went well. So Jose, any questions there?
No, thank you for the answer.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Okay, cool. You're welcome. Randall, what data analytics roles does BDO have to offer? So Emily, if you're comfortable, feel free to jump in here. This is kind of Emily's world in BDO Digital. We do have data analytics positions available. You will not see them on our website right now, but we do. We have internship possibilities, associate possibilities. You can learn a little bit more about what that group does specifically on our website, which I know people hate being pointed to the website, but honestly, it's like the best place to get the information for, you know, at least as a starting point, and help you prepare for any kind of follow-up conversations that we have as a result of today's meeting with our team.
And just to chime in there for BDO Digital, we do hire interns at every semester. So definitely would love to kind of connect. BDO Digital is kind of its whole other, whole other world underneath advisory. So our data analytics practices are really heavy in Houston and in our Oak Brook office, but we're kind of open to anywhere as well. Kind of like Jenny said, if you know of an office that you're most interested in, we can kind of find a spot for you, based on whatever your desires are. But yeah, I recommend if you guys are interested in BDO digital at all, go ahead and take a look at our website. There's tons of different things that we offer under there, including data analytics. So
yeah, and then, thanks, Emily. And an overall tip with that, just advice here when you guys are applying and speaking to recruiters and to professionals, I never try to pressure you guys into saying, oh, you have to pick a business line. I don't really think that we have to do that, honestly, but it is super helpful if you guys can come to the table with like top three, rather than saying like, oh, I want advisory. You'd be like, okay, cool. What part of advisory? There's a lot. So, be prepared to share the top three there. So Joseph, are there any internships that lean towards education? Not really, honestly, not at BDO. If anything, maybe training and development, but that would be with our core business services recruiting. We can certainly connect you if you're interested in that. All right, Jeremy, this is the last question here in advisory that I see. When it comes to your internships in advisory, are you required to have a degree in accounting? And the answer is no. Advisory is kind of, like I said, its own world. You're not required to have a degree in accounting. If you look at the specific job descriptions, because they are different for each business line within advisory, you can see specifically there what majors are required for those positions, and you can also see what's preferred. So let's say you're an econ major, and that's a required major. They're golden, you're good. But what if your major is maybe one of the preferred ones? That doesn't mean you're not eligible. It just means that maybe they might be interested in someone that has the required degree over the one that has the preferred degree. But I always say give it a shot anyway. You never know. So that's really it within advisory. I can tell you both STS and advisory are in a very, very aggressive growth stage in their business right now, which I'm sure is shocking to you to hear in the environment that we're in with COVID. But I'm super thankful because that means job security for me. But for STS, we've more than doubled in the last 3 years in size. And at the intern and associate level, those numbers are reflective of the growth of the practice as well. So we are supporting them through that. And advisory over the next 5 years, they are looking to grow the entry level hiring significantly. So the cool thing is we likely have a spot, you know, if you're interested. So that's it for STS and advisory. Any questions on those two?
I believe Anthony has a question.
Oh, Anthony, programming skills or certificates
Yeah.
with help to boost when applying for advisory. So that would be more for digital.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emily, you want to take that one?
Sure. So typically within digital, depending on what type of an internship you're looking for, if you're talking data analytics or software development, we do offer many internships within those areas. Typically, we're looking for computer science majors that have had that programming experience in the classroom. We're typically working within the Microsoft stack, so we're always looking for people that have some sort of SQL experience, working with .NET, C#. Those are kind of our buzzwords in terms of what we're looking for, you know, with interns and even, you know, full-time openings. So in terms of certificates, I would say there's probably not one that I look at and think that it's better than another. I think it's more so that true experience that you get from your classroom and potentially past internships. They like to see past internships on your resume as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and overall, for BDO in general, I would say we look at the whole person rather than just academics,
Right.
which I know is probably not something you're used to hearing, but we care big time about who you are besides what your major is, what your grades are, what certificates you have. Yeah, those are all kind of like basics. Like we expect you to have that, but we truly do care. What did you do in high school? You know, did you have to work through college? What leadership opportunities did you take on in high school and in college? What are you looking to get into? Things like that. So yeah, so all that stuff is obviously important and required to get the job, but we care much more about all the other stuff.
And kind of to that point, Jenny, kind of that participation within different, you know, organizations and whatnot. To your question, Anthony, like hackathons are something that they're really impressed with seeing on resumes. And again, that's just a way for you to get, you know, really involved within your school, with your campus, whatever it might be. The hackathons, those different boot camps are always really good too.
I could jump in to plug Data Science Club. We have tutorials up on the YouTube page for Python, R, SQL, spreadsheets, all that stuff. So if you're looking for a good place to start, we're building that kind of additional educational platform in addition to all your schoolwork, so you can help build your platform as well. So that's all I'll say about Data Science Club. Sorry, guys.
Love that.
Great.
Love that. Yeah, no, that's great. That's what we like to see. You know, we like to see much more than just you went to school and got good grades. So that's good. All right. I think, Celise, I think we can move on to the next step.
Sure, sounds good. And Randall, I will just say that I'm going to check out your YouTube page after all of this is done. You have inspired me, so hopefully your peers, your classmates are feeling it too.
Thank you.
So cool.
That's
so cool
nice.
that you put time into crafting that. I mean, gosh, I don't know what I was doing in college, but it wasn't anything like that. So very cool. Well, so moving on, I know it looks like a lot of you maybe aren't, or a lot of the ALPFA leadership, you know, you're not necessarily in accounting. And so I definitely want to make this a conversation around what in general you can do for fall recruitment, considering, you know, this is relevant for everyone who is seeking an internship or a full-time opportunity. And so was thinking I want to follow in Jenny's footsteps and just kind of have this be more of a conversation since it is a smaller group. So what's your initial, I mean, maybe one or two people if you want to chime in, what are your initial thoughts when it comes to having a resume, you know, putting that together? What comes to mind?
tailoring it, like you're creating a personalized document just for each person. Well, when it comes to using the ATS, you're essentially reading the job description. You're seeing how your past job experiences can apply to that job because you're trying to show that you're the best fit, not only with whatever hard skills can get you through the checklist of different things that you need, but you also have applicable soft skills that are necessary for you to get for you to be useful in that job.
Perfect. Thanks for being willing to speak up. And Julianne puts in the chat feature, short and concise for the resume. You're both like spot on about those things. I know for myself, anytime I'm like, oh, I've got to update my resume, I actually get a little bit anxious because I spend a lot of time crafting and thinking about it, and yeah, and it can feel a little overwhelming. But with that said, just some things that we can be mindful of as we put together our resumes. So you're all in college right now. No need to have it be longer than a page. I guess I should add, unless you have come back to school, maybe you've already had a career and done some things, that could maybe be the exception. But in general, you know, you haven't done too much at this point in time, and that's completely okay. I did make this a little, the due paragraph is a bit more specific to the accounting majors that I look at. So I do want to know if you're going to be CPA eligible and when that is. That's like something I really hone in on. Same with GPA. I'll also add this, if you're like kind of searching around on the internet and looking for do's and don'ts, this is actually something a lot of job sites will say don't include it. Because you're currently students, this is the time we would want to see your GPA. And we're just, at BDO, for audit and core tax, we're just really looking to make sure that you meet a baseline of 3.0. As Jenny mentioned, we do look at our candidates holistically though. So if for some reason you're below that 3.0, you know, we can have compassion if there's good reasons. If you've been working full time and putting yourself through school, you know, of course that could be an exception. Or we've seen athletes that have juggled a really heavy workload too. So so this is the time that we would actually want to see that GPA. As you get into the workforce, you know, in a couple years down the road, that's something you'll leave off. But for now, we want to see that. When you're graduating, you know, as we're sourcing for interns, we want to make sure that we get you in the right time frame to come intern with us. Typically, the way we like to do it is have you come intern with us. If you're just doing a bachelor's degree, we'd love to see you in between your junior and senior year. You get some really good experience with us. You go back to school, you finish up, and then the hope is that from there we have a full-time opportunity for you. And so we like to just get you in that pipeline just right, you know, so you're not too early, not too late. Our internships are open to students. I know a lot of times we get applicants who've already finished up school. And Jenny, maybe you have different thoughts on that. In general, for audit and core tax, we're looking for folks who are actively still in school. Is that the same with STS and
Yes,
advisory?
yeah, it's a BDO requirement that to be an intern, you must be enrolled in school. Now, you know, if you're done with school and you're just looking for a job, you could enroll in a class or two and you're eligible, like if you're just right out of school. But yes, it is a requirement.
Thanks for that. And that's very true. I know a lot of times, you know, people finish up school, maybe they didn't have all their CPA units that they need to be eligible for the exam. That's a great way to meet that requirement of being a student and also still actively pursuing the units. So also on a resume, we want to see your education first. This is unique to a college resume. Of course, once you're in the workforce, it's a bit different, but for now, start with that, you know, clean, crisp, your university, your grad date, your CPA eligibility, your GPA. You can all have it in just one section. From there, dive into your work experience. And please be sure to look at it once, twice, 3 times. Make sure you don't have typos, grammatical errors. You know, we as recruiters, we see these things all the time. And while we won't automatically discount you for that, it definitely will play into your favor if you just have other people look at it. Okay, Randall's got a question coming in for us. What if a student doesn't have a stellar GPA? What other qualifications could help be considered for an entry-level role? Yes, very fair question. And as I said, you know, and as Jenny's mentioned, we do like to look at our candidates holistically. You know, if you have leadership experience, for example, that's really great. If you have been working full-time, you know, I definitely see that come through on resumes. Supported self through school, paid 100% room and board, or, you know, maybe work that into a cover letter, some type of explanation if you were maybe a caregiver for a family member or something, and that took up a lot of your time. And just if you're able to demonstrate that you are able to manage a lot while you've been a student, you know, if you've not held a job and just been a student and your GPA is below 3.0, we might maybe question what's going on there, you know. But yes, we definitely are open if you haven't had such a solid GPA.
On that note, Celeste, can I mention something on
course.
the GPA question? Because it's always very surprising to me that so many people leave their GPAs off their resume when they're actually above a 3.0. So if you have if your GPA is a 3.0 or higher, even if it's a 3.0 even or a 3.1, put it on your resume, because I will automatically assume that if it is not on your resume, it is below a 3.0. And frankly, I'll decline you, right? Like if you're below a 3.0 or you don't have it on your resume and there's nothing else on there that, you know, makes you seem like someone that I can move forward with, it's almost like an automatic decline. So just a note, because I have conversations with students all the time that they're like, oh, I thought, you know, a 3.2 isn't something really to brag about. I'm like, yeah, it is. So GPA is much better than my cumulative. I mean, if you feel comfortable, Jeremy, I would put both. You know, because sometimes I personally like to see when, and so Lisa, Emily, jump in here. I personally like to see, let's say your overall GPA is lower, but your cumulative GPA on what you're focusing on and what you're, I'm sorry, let's say your overall is lower, but your, like, let's say upper division, right? Like your major GPA is higher. That makes sense to me, because it's like, okay, you're a board in those other classes, but like you love what you're actually majoring in, so you're getting better grades there. So like that's fine. If you have a lower overall GPA, but then like your major GPA is great, put that, because you know there's really no rule that tells us which GPA we have to look at. Like as long as one of them is like over a 3.0, like I'll take it, you know.
100%, yeah.
And if you don't mind, Celeste, I had put a little question out when you started talking about resumes about how long you guys think. So thank you everybody for commenting on that. I will share my answer to this. Celeste and Emily, feel free to share. I spent less than a minute, hands down, less than a minute. Like, we get, I think last year we got over 30,000 resumes, and we hired about 1,500 people. I am not sitting there for more than a few minutes reviewing resumes. So
same. And that's why I mentioned this GPA, CPA eligibility, grad date. Like that's really what I hone in on. I'm sure Jenny and Emily are looking at slightly different things, but yes, we are looking at a lot of things. So I want that information clean, crisp, concise. And
yeah. Sorry, because I know you guys spend a lot of time working on your resumes, and it's super important to do that. But that doesn't mean we spend a lot of time reviewing it.
Yep, definitely. And a question came in about the hard skills. Yes, this isn't a comprehensive list of do's and don'ts by any means, just kind of things that I, you know, wanted to get out there. Of course, include your skills. Soft skills work too, hard skills. A lot of you have picked up some really great, you know, you can program, you know, Java, you know, SQL, you know, all these things are great. And for sure, put those on your resume too. These are the Jews are kind of the biggest things that I miss. And I'm on the same boat with Jenny. If I don't see a GPA, I'm like, oh dear, what's going on here? So that's really important at this stage. And I think, again, it's like people are using the internet to get advice on how to create a resume, and a lot of sites will say, don't put a GPA. This is really specific for college students. And then too, do you all have, I want to say at Cal State East Bay, you all have a career services center that should have folks available to help you create resumes. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, well, I would 100% plug them, sit down with them. You know, this is they do this for a living. They help people put together really solid looking resumes. Use them, you know, that's a service you're already paying for. If you're paying tuition, might as well take advantage of that. And, you know, they can help you proofread. One thing that I see a lot of is people just like do look at the job descriptions of something and then they just kind of copy and paste it in, and find a way to represent that information a little more creatively. You know, if you had a job, like think about the jobs you've had. How have you made it, how have you taken that role and made it better? For example, if you ever have like data you can show, if you've ever been in sales, you know, great. I recognize as college students, that might be a little harder if you've been working in food service or whatever. It's all good. We love to see that you've worked. But just you put a little bit of creativity into how you explain what you've done there rather than just, you know, we can tell when it's just been a copied and pasted like intro. Also make sure that you're being truthful in how you present yourself. No need to include your home address. I know years ago we did, but you can simply put your city and state if you want. Obviously, we want to know how to get in touch with you. So email address, a phone number that you'll actually answer or listen to voice messages on, and then avoid just using I and me. I know we had a couple more questions come in. Just gonna pop back over to them.
While so Lisa's reviewing those, I wanted to also jump in and say, you know, we're talking a lot about what to put on the resume, all the do's. If you're in the position that you don't really have that much that you think you can put on there, give me a thumbs up if you think that that's you. Like, is there anybody in this group, just go like this on the camera, if you're like, I don't really have that much stuff to put on my resume. Is there anybody that falls in that? Okay, Joseph, thanks. Anyone else? Okay, so, you know, for you, Joseph, I would say anything that you do, like volunteer work that you do that's free, you know. For me, when I was in college, I did babysitting, I did special events on the weekends, like I would do whatever. And even though it wasn't really relevant to the roles that I was applying to in the future, I still put it on there because it showed who I was and what I was passionate about and, you know, what I like doing with my free time. So just wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks, Joseph.
Thanks, Jenny, for sharing that. That is good info. One question that came in from Jose, you're wanting to know about, you have been in the workforce, which is great. You're now coming back and doing masters. So you're asking, should you still have education first? That's maybe more of a personal preference. I do want to know, as I've said, I kind of hone in on that. I think campus recruiters, we kind of generally look at that education piece first. I would say go ahead and still include that first, and then I'll jump down and say, oh, great, he or she's been in the workforce since that time. So totally got it. Again, it's a quick scan. So if I can just see, okay, he's going to be available to work here, here, and here. This is his GPA. Like, again, every recruiter might be a bit different. And yes, I would say, next question was about formatting and affecting our impression. I know there's been a lot of templates that have come out on Etsy and online and stuff that you can buy the last couple of years. I don't know that will necessarily sway me one way or another. I still want it to look clean. You know, Jenny, do you have thoughts on that?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I hope you guys can tell that I'm like very down to earth here. I will say I could not care less what format you use. Like, as long as it's pretty and clean and you don't have mistakes, we're good. Like, don't waste your money on a pretty template is what I would say with that. And yeah, and Jose, you know, to answer your question, just from a little bit of a different perspective, it's whatever you prefer in terms of education or experience first. And I just wanted to share that I've only been a campus recruiter, you know, specifically for these last 4 years. Before that, I spent about 10 years doing experienced and campus recruiting in the legal industry. Me personally, I would say if you're applying for an experience level position that looks at work experience, put the experience first and then the education at the bottom. That's the norm for experienced level positions. If you're applying for a entry level position, whether it's, you know, entry level associate within an accounting firm like us, or an internship, then yeah, maybe put your education at the top to highlight that, just because that's what the recruiters used to see. You know what I mean? Like the campus recruiters used to seeing education at the top. The experience recruiters used to seeing experience at the top. So.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in on that one.
Yeah,
Jenny.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
I know we had one more question come in about asking if we ask for references and cover letters with your resume. I specifically do not for audit and tax. Jenny might have a different different answer.
Yeah, we don't, Jeremy. The only way we would, so your references with us, at least that will come up like when you get hired through your background check. We'll ask you for your references there. At the beginning, we don't ask for that stuff. Like we just want to get to know you through the interview process. Yeah. Cover letters, I would say they're super nice, again, at the experience level. At the campus level, don't bother unless it's a requirement.
I guess I will say maybe the one exception to that cover letter is if you are looking to go outside of where you're currently living. For example, I relocated myself from Salt Lake City to the Bay Area. And as I was job searching, I wanted to let recruiters know I want to be in this area and for specific reasons. So I gave, you know, I said for personal and professional reasons, I'm looking to relocate. So I, as a recruiter in the Bay Area, get tons of resumes from all over the country. And when I don't see that cover letter explaining like, okay, I don't see that your home address is here. I have no idea. For all I know, you're applying to 1,000 positions all over the country. So that'd be the one, I'd see the one exception to that. But yes, we don't have time for the cover letters otherwise.
Yeah, we'll ask you for like if the leaders want to know more, but usually that's stuff we can screen. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think we've had a good conversation around resumes, do's and don'ts. We can probably move on to the next portion of our presentation. But if for those of you not actively in the chat right now, Jeremy just mentioned that canva.com has some good templates that he's had experience with. So just, you know, if you are in need of sprucing yours up and want to maybe start there, it could be good. Thanks for sharing, Jeremy. Okay, so we know that this fall is going to be different in terms of how we are meeting people, and just a few things that we wanted to review. You're going to have kind of more limited time with people as you sign up for either whether it's Meet the Firms or other networking opportunities that are coming through. I know on the accounting side, we have Meet the Firms. Hopefully you all have opportunities to get in front of recruiters as well with your different majors. But this is just good general information in general, you know, to have as you want to talk to people. I know a lot of times, and this will of course be different this year because we're not actively going to campus, but I think students get nervous and they just kind of, they'll, no joke, like hand me their resume and just say, this is what I've been doing, or, you know, and maybe a better approach. Well, actually, let me ask you guys, what do you think might be a slightly better approach than going that route?
Having a story to tell.
Yes, love that. Love that.
Of course. And two, you can simply just start with a smile and your name. You know, I'm majoring in business administration here at Cal State East Bay, or whatever it is. And of course, this is going to be slightly different. You're going to be on doing these things virtually this year. But rather than just defaulting to, oh, here's what I've done, or, you know, you can just let them know, like, we're all people. We're happy to start with a small talk is good. You know, how are you doing today? You know, in the Bay Area, we've had these crazy fires going on. How's the air quality where you are today? I mean, I've been having these conversations with my colleagues in different parts of the Bay, and because I genuinely care. I'm like, is it better there? Is it worse? You know, you can find simple ways to connect, or just really just say hello and smile. Eye contact is really important. you know I'm a hand talker. One of the benefits of being from like midway stuff is you can't see that this year, so you can still have that, but you know, less to worry about there. And then two, practice, and I'm guilty of this, I'm realizing as I'm saying this, these filler words, they come out. But it's just something to at least be mindful of as you go into these types of events. Have any of you taken public speaking before? Jose,
Nice. Look at that. A lot of you guys have. Yeah. Jerry, Jeremy, Randall, I saw all your hands go up.
Okay,
I believe
awesome.
it's required at the state level. Or at least
Nice.
it was required of me when I transferred in. So yeah.
That's really good. That's
Yeah,
good.
we had to, I mean, back in community college when I was taking those, I had to do an intro to public speaking, but then, I mean, I work at a Starbucks, so I have to publicly speak to all customers at all times. And then we have a communications and team building for our business students, so that's a lot of having to do very small presentations each and every week. So it really warms you up to it as well.
Yeah,
helpful.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. So guys, on this one, I wanted to share too that with virtual, it's totally different, right? It's a different world, and I can speak to this just a little bit because I've been virtual recruiting now for almost 2 years. Before COVID hit, I was fully virtual. So I was kind of the guinea pig at BDO for doing pre-recorded video interviews, live video interviews, all that fun stuff. And I can tell you that there are some things in the virtual world that matter that don't really necessarily matter in face-to-face. So we can talk a little bit about that. I don't know if we have that on any of the slides coming up here, but
a bit, yeah, we have it a bit. If you want to jump in, Jenny, go for it.
I mean, just on that, if you go back, just using the last slide, but with a virtual lens, that making eye contact, I know it's super weird, but have you noticed that like I can talk to the camera this way, but then you can also see me looking sideways and down, right? And we're all gonna do it. But when you're having it, I'm just gonna say this, when you're doing a PRVI, like a pre-recorded video interview, or you were doing a live video interview, it's super important for you to look at the camera, because there's nothing more distracting than interviewing a student via live video or watching one of those pre-recorded video interviews and like you guys are staring down like this the whole time, right? So just keep that in mind for the virtual world when you're doing these things. Hands, whatever. I'm Cuban. I'm like this all the time. Like that doesn't bother me. Like you are who you are. You can't hide that. And in the virtual world here, for putting your best foot forward, I'm really big on making sure that you present yourself well, even if you're home. So as you can tell today, you know, I'm wearing my BDO shirt, but like 10 minutes before this call, guys, Emily and I were on a one-on-one, and I was on my t-shirt that I was wearing sweating with my kids earlier. So it's about dressing the part in the virtual environment. Does that mean you have to wear a suit for a live video interview? Maybe look at the instructions that your recruiter sent you, but probably not. Definitely don't show up in a t-shirt, you know, for stuff like that when you're networking or interviewing or anything like that. So I just wanted to kind of paint a little bit of color on this slide when we're talking about the virtual environment that we're in this fall.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Jenny. I know, just going back to the public speaking question, I asked that because I also had to take public speaking in college, and one of the exercise that our teacher gave us, every time we gave a speech in front of the class, we had to videotape ourselves, which of course you don't have VHS tapes now, just that probably dates me. But one thought around that, if you're curious, as you get into fall recruiting, you know, you could video yourself with your phone if you know, whatever, and just listen to it and see. It's a good exercise. And as I'm saying these words, I'm thinking I ought to brush up on this myself, and I'm hearing my verbal pauses, and they aren't the end of the world, of course. You know, if you have a few in there, it's fine, but just something to be mindful of, since you have more limited time with people right now. You know, just be mindful of how you are speaking and the words that you're saying. So as you get into recruiting season 2, it doesn't hurt, you know, hopefully you're getting a heads up on what companies are coming to your career fairs, and look into them. We have a lot of really good information on our website, you know, as do all of the other companies you're going to be getting in front of. And so learn about them, and that will allow you to bring something to the conversation too, as if you're having interviews, especially, the interviewers are going to know, what questions do you have for me? And if you can pull in something you've potentially learned about the firm, like, that goes a long way. Yeah, there's certainly, I've been at my fair share of events where people say, I have no idea what your firm is. You tell me about it. Tell me. And I can certainly do that. Jenny can, Emily can do that too. But a candidate that seems engaged and interested is someone who's going to stand out a lot more than someone that I have to persuade that they should know about my firm, right? So take a little bit of time ahead of these events and, learn some things about what they have to offer. And two, while you're doing your research, well, maybe there's something in their core values or their mission statement that really speaks to you and will help you feel more inspired and like, oh, this seems like a place that I could really fit in well. We offer, like BDO, for example, offers flex time to our employees. We have formal and informal policies that we put together, and we also have what we call BDO Counts, and that's our service organization that gets out into the community. I've had students at events like tell me, these things really speak to me. Can you elaborate on them? Just show your enthusiasm for these companies. That really goes a long way with professionals you're meeting as well as recruiters. And two, I love this, to really set some goals around what are you wanting to get out of these activities. If you just kind of go into it like, oh man, here we go, another Zoom, oh boy, you may not find it to be a great event, but your mindset can go a long way here too. So again, something to think about. Jenny's already talked about the attire piece. We, I think, are all loving this aspect of working from home, from being remote students, is that we don't have to be camera ready all that often. And so when we do, maybe it's a nice change. Of course, do dress up a bit, know your audience. You can check in with the recruiter if you've got some interviews lined up. Or as you're getting ready to go to meet the firms, for example, hopefully there's some guidance provided there. As the recruiter, I don't think we're super picky. I don't expect people to be in full suits right now. That's kind of feels like a lot. In the Bay Area, it tends to be a bit more casual anyway. But if it helps you feel more confident to be in a nice blazer and a tie, or for ladies, if a nice blazer, by all means wear it. I think that we really can derive some energy and poise from how we present ourselves. And I know for myself, when I'm just wearing a t-shirt and working away, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fine. But then when I kind of elevate my appearance, I put on a little makeup, I feel like a new person. I feel more engaged and alive, if you will. So just some things to think about. And Emily, Jenny, did you have anything in here you wanted to add?
No, I'm just trying to hold back my giggles a little bit because I'm hearing you and I just can't help but go back to what Randall was saying earlier about telling a story. Like when we're networking, I want to hear your story more than I care about, a lot of these details that I'm sure you guys can get hung up on as you're preparing for events. They're super important for sure. Like we said, don't show up in a t-shirt, be prepared, all those things. But we want to know who you are. We want to see you relax in your environment. And by relax, I don't mean like chilling on your bed with your bed frame as your background, but definitely, in your environment, who you are, what you're about, is I think the best tip for networking. I will tell you, I get immediately like lose interest when someone approaches me and they're like reading their resume to me. I just like, it's really hard for me to not like be like, okay, bye. I can do that myself. I want to talk to you. So yeah, all these are great tips, Elise, and you did a great job sharing this. But I think maybe it's because it's Friday afternoon here in Miami, Florida, where I'm at. I'm just kind of like, la la la. I want to see who you are than anything else.
No, that sounds good. And a few people are chiming in. Jeremy, full suit in a pair of shorts for these career fairs. Hey, I
Nice.
like that. That's nice.
Yeah, do it. I mean, I don't blame you at all. When we first started this virtual world, you know, like I said, I was virtual before all of this COVID stuff happened. So I was used to being home in like sweaty clothes, whatever I was doing that day, and nobody ever turned their camera on, so I could get away with it. And then as soon as COVID hit and everybody started working from home, it was like everybody thinks it's cool to just call on camera now 24/7. So yeah, the top always tries to look a little bit at least somewhat decent, but the bottom, I'd be lying if I said that I was, you know, in something other than sweatpants or pajama pants most of the time. So totally cool.
And then you gotta make sure the one side of the room is like properly cleaned and whatnot, or you gotta like figure out the right virtual background for it.
Oh yeah, no, you guys are lucky right now. Usually this time of day, Emily, I'm sure you can like laugh at this one because you see it in live all the time. I have 2 little kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. Usually around this time, they are like nuts, like jumping around everywhere. So I'm just like, that's part of telling your story, right? You just try your best to have a clean, nice background, but if your dog's barking, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, things are very real right now. You know, I've been on calls this week. I mean, it's a little bit different as students, but you know, we see people with children on their laps. We do see pets come across the screen, and I think too, this has caused us all to not be quite as serious. It's like, hey, it's life. This is very real. You know, we're all navigating something that we never could have imagined. Nobody asked for this, and we're all just kind of doing the best we can there too. So I feel like we've really sort of covered this, different things, you know, no handshakes right now, of course, but a smile, just saying hello, that goes a really long way. Tell us who you are. One thing too, and then this is different and it's really nice, I think, when we have our names just listed, it really helps. I don't know about any of you, but I'm a majorly a visual learner. And so I usually have to see a name before I can fully comprehend it. And so this is, you know, in real life, you know, a lot of times we're asking, oh, tell me your name. A lot of times we have name badges on anyway, but if we don't, and we're so focused on just being present that we don't actually remember the person's name. You know, we're listening for it, but not really. We're just like, what am I going to say next? And so that these virtual settings are nice, you know, when we just have the opportunity to see the names too. I've kind of already talked about how you can find similarities a lot, especially if all of you are wanting to stay local. We'll be interviewing with local interviewers here, and yeah, be yourself. We like that aspect. I certainly will say that BDO is a firm with real people. You know, our office managing partner in San Jose let us know that earlier this week that his family has been displaced by the Santa Cruz fire, and I think he would be okay with me sharing this. I mean, because we keep it real within our firm. He's currently living in an Airstream trailer with his family of 4 while they, you know, they had to evacuate the fires. Their home was preserved, but that element of realness and connectivity for me is so important, and hopefully that resonates with all of you too, in feeling like, you know, we care about, you know, where people are currently in the dynamic that's taking shape in life right now. And so again, just connect with us. And I was going to touch to we'll talk a little bit about networking and following up with recruiters. LinkedIn, do you guys all have LinkedIn? Show of hands, maybe? Yeah, nod.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do.
Great. Perfect. LinkedIn, I don't think is going away anytime soon. Maybe some other social media won't be as vital in a couple of years, but LinkedIn is a fantastic way to build connections, to, you know, help you learn about other opportunities. One thing, and I know Stephanie Tyler, our National Director of Recruiting, she and I presented on this not too long ago to some students, but as you're reaching out to people, especially after you meet them, whether it's at Meet the Firms, other events, you have that option on LinkedIn to include a personal note, and that goes a really long way. For campus recruiters, we're meeting dozens, if not hundreds of students on campus, and so shoot a little note, say, I met you here, or thanks for speaking to our club, you know, whatever it is, just personalize it a bit. I myself as a recruiter, I'm way more likely to accept if a student's able to tell me how we've connected in the past. You know, one of the benefits of LinkedIn is that you can utilize that as you're looking for job opportunities. So one thing I've mentioned, I relocated to the Bay Area from Salt Lake City. And as I would reach out to other people, I'd say, oh, I see that you know someone who's at a firm or a company I'm interested in. Would you be comfortable introducing me? More often than not, they'd come back and say, you know, I just connected with them. I don't actually have a relationship with them. And while it's nice to build your network, you want your network to actually be able to work for you, or to benefit other people. And so that's, of course, a roadblock if they're like, I don't actually know them. So just something to think about as you do build your network. You know, you want to at least know these people on some level. You know, you don't just need like thousands of people in your network if you don't really know them or they can't add value to you. So just a tip that a personal, you know, personal thought for me is actually know these people. And, you know, as you're trying to connect with other people, you know, tell them how you've met, tell them how you've connected in the past in that little note, rather than just sending shooting off a blanket, like, let's connect, you know. I don't know, Jenny, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's good too. And if you're going to follow up after the event with an email, I always say, like, pick one. You know, don't send an email and a LinkedIn invitation.
Great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you are, it's going to be like what Celeste mentioned for LinkedIn, and then make the email like, hey, I applied to this position, you know, here's my resume. Even though we don't accept resumes formally via email, you can do that, but just avoid that like double follow-up.
Great point. Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
Sorry, I was going to say one more thing about the follow-up notes. If you're going to send it, make sure it is not a copy paste with a change in the name. Those are like pointless. Those are like really annoying. I like it when it's clear that you wrote it specifically to me, and it's about BDO, not like this, you know, follow-up email that you created for all of your virtual events in this season that you're sending to everybody. So if you're going to do it, make it meaningful, make it because, you know, you connected with something that we said on any level, and, you know, reference that in your email. Don't just say like, thanks for hosting this, because that's just one more email to delete, honestly.
Yes, thanks for covering that. We'll just jump a little bit into, I feel like we have kind of already been talking about some of these things with the virtual interviews, but do just a bit of prep as you're getting ready for these. You know, check your lighting, check your background, your audio. I'm sure we've all been on these calls enough. We know these things, but you know, just make sure you don't have anything super distracting going on. As we mentioned, you know, clean up. Everyone's background looks nice today, by the way. Just continue what you're doing there.
Jeremy, we don't know what you got going on back there. It's okay. I'm usually unblurred. My background's usually blurred. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and then to I loved that we had our Pathway to Success program in May. That's an early recruiting program that we host for students. Normally we do it in person, but we had to move it. We had to move it virtually, of course. And our Chief People Officer, Kathy Moy, participated in that, and she's also got college students home. I think she's got 3 daughters, and they were all home at the time. And she was very real. And she's like, I currently have a note on the door in my dining room letting people know that I'm in a live session, and therefore let's hope nobody comes in. Let's hope they actually read it. But if you are sharing space with others, whether it's family, roommates, whatever, give a heads up that you have this going on, because you know, in the interview you do want to have that be, you know, a quiet place, a place where you've got good internet. And then you don't have people barging in, or, you know, you can kind of manage that as well. And then to our, I know on the audit and assurance side of things, all of our questions at this time are behavioral in nature. Jenny, I'm not sure if that's true of our STS advisory. I'm guessing it might be, but.
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it's typically pretty behavioral in nature, meaning These are questions like, tell me about a time when, you know, nothing technical at this point. And so that's kind of nice. But leading up to the interview, you know, it's nice to kind of storyboard a little bit. I've done this myself, where I just kind of look at my resume, look at the things I've done, and think about how I actually want to share this, you know, going back to telling your story and what you've done and how you've gone about doing it. Definitely makes for a more engaging interview than just like, yeah, I did this. And, you know, if you can present it in a way that's interesting, that really goes a long way with interviewers. So just, again, some things to think about. If too, you know, maybe your GPA isn't as strong as you would have liked, you know, you can explain that as well. Say, oh man, I really had a really heavy workload this semester. I was taking my most challenging classes, and that's why my GPA was a bit under. And I've since, you know, worked and improved study habits, or whatever it is, you know, as long as you can show what you're actively doing to, you know, improve or whatever it is. But for me, I know as I do that kind of storyboarding, if you will, just talk about the things I've achieved, how I want to present that, it really eases my nerves as I go into an interview, and I feel more confident, and that builds on itself, and then you know, you're in a good spot for that. So with that, I think we're about at time. Did we have any questions as it relates to networking or interviewing? You guys have been really great, and I really appreciate that you've participated with us and talked to us too. So we haven't just been, hopefully it hasn't felt like we've just been talking at you today. Okay, well, with that, I will just conclude by saying it's been really nice to be here with all of you, and happy to connect. If you do want to connect after this, you have just gotten some advice on how to go about doing that. And best of luck as you move forward with fall recruiting this season in this virtual world that we're all operating in now. And Randall, appreciate you for coordinating with us and allowing us to be here today.
Oh, thank you guys. Just spectacular information. And as part of the reason I wanted to do a theme like this is I feel like a lot of students kind of go into this process a little blind, right? They don't understand what they need to do to be successful in the arena of recruiting. As I'm sure, like you mentioned, Jenny, you know, just copy pasting resumes, stuff like that. Obviously, you know, there's some intuition, but a lot of it is learned. So that's what ALPFA's for. Honestly, it's been a huge part of my progression as a professional, as a student. Re-entering the professional world is a very different perspective. And I'm very grateful that, you know, there is a platform for us to connect with companies like BDO. Thank you again, everybody, Jenny, Celise, and Emily, for sharing your expertise and your knowledge. I really do appreciate it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hang around. I'm going to end the recording, but I'm going to hang around in case anybody has any additional questions for me, or if ladies, if you want to hang around too, to answer questions or just to talk about kind of the semester or, you know, internships, whatever it may be. So let me go ahead and end the recording here.